on from the dry, cold topic of taxes to some hot topics.
Yeah.
Because it's the winter of our potential discontent. When we try to drive our older, lower range EVs around in the cold, we need some supplemental heating sometimes. And we have two people to present their solutions for heating. One, the more traditional approach for a conversion. Larry Ryan has a couple of photos and a brief narrative for us.
You know, we're right there.
Yep. Oh.
Let's see.
I'll get it up real quick.
Okay. Start with the one that says MSDA specs or something like that. Okay, this is just on the single topic of heating a conversion. And I drive a Chevrolet S10 1996, converted over to all electric, and I've been driving it for more than 10 years. And it runs like a champ, it's great, but the solution to a heater was one of our main topics, and putting the conversion together in the design. And most of the discussion, particularly at SEVA meetings, your conversion to heater, you get a ceramic heater that runs off of 12 volts, and then you put that in a place of a heat exchanger that uses gas engines, hot water, and that's how you do it. And I thought, man, that sounded to me like below the standard for the design. Is what my design idea was at the very beginning. It'd be best in class of parts, and that didn't sound like best in class. So I found this. This is MSDEA fluid heater, and that's the solution I chose. And it was probably cost me 4 or 5 times more than a little ceramic heater, and because there are a lot of conversions going around with that doing fine. Another factor that didn't take into account, but which kind of proved out later, that the inside, the cabin area of a little pickup is not very big, and I don't need a lot of heat. I have my own thermostat. My wife disagrees with that. And so most of the time I run the heater in the truck has been when she's a passenger. Most of the time I forget about it. So, but anyway, this is what we chose, and was this heater, and it basically it has a couple of components, and you notice at the top here, the heater itself runs off of the pack voltage, and for me that's 160 volts. So I have a pack voltage, I cap off of that, and feed that to the heater. The heater uses this is MSDEA. This is luxury electronics. It uses a PWM circuit, a proportional control circuit, to heat the water to between 70 and 80 degrees Celsius. What's that, about 150 degrees, or warm enough, the car, all right? And then you see an inlet and outlet hose for the fluid that's in it, and what the fluid that's in it is just a bunch of antifreeze. I didn't even dilute the antifreeze, just dumped a whole jug of antifreeze in there, and that's it. And it also has, this is the top view, there's a photo, and this, it has a 12-volt circulating pump. So the idea then is that the 12-volt, it has fan. I have a little thumb wheel, fan high, fan low, and that fan comes on when you turn your heater on. Well, now the fan comes on when this heater is on. So, and it gets hot pretty fast. It takes 30 amps to run it, so as soon as I flip on the heater switch, this heater switch, I can see on my eVision current monitor, 30 amps jumps up. That sounds bad, my God. But proportional control means it doesn't take 30 amps all the time. In no time at all, it heats up to that 70, 80 degrees Celsius and then shuts off. Zero current there. The only thing drawing current is my circulating motor, which is not very much. So it comes off and on. Okay, so let's flip to picture. I forget the names of them. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And, okay, here's that's the worst one, okay.
The other one?
Yeah, yeah, it's a little bit better. So here's what it looks like. And so these hoses are the original heater hoses. I just cut them off, and you see one is red and one is black. Well, I cut one of them off the wrong length. All right, that's why. So that'd be the two red heater hoses, and when you pull your radiator out, you know, chop those off. And so down here is the circulating pump. At the top, you undo that, and that's where all the antifreeze is, the fluid that's heated. And let's see, I had another photo with a longer, that bottom one there. That's what it looked like brand new. So you see here, this is the wiring. That goes to the pack voltage, 160 volts. And then the circulating pump is 12-volt pump is over there. And it's just a matter of hooking that up to the same fuse that controls power to the fan. So I flip on the switch, the fan starts running, the circulating pump's running, and it gets hot fast and works like a champ. So that was my solution, and it allowed me to use best of class components. Later, I did go to that same company to get the booster vacuum pump, and Stephen is the one that he drove my S10 a long time ago with a defective vacuum pump. I had no power brakes from Bothell to Redmond and back.
I'm a trooper.
And he did say that his leg got a lot of exercise. And so that
particularly outside the door.
The original vacuum pump was terrible. I got rid of it, so I thought MSDEA. Well, I couldn't find anybody that was selling it, so I had to buy it straight from Switzerland and pay euros. And I think I'm not going to tell you how much I paid for it, but that vacuum pump has been reliable for 9 years. So this is a good company. That's my story.
Yeah, right. Oh, got a question in the back.
Larry, one question in the back. Yes, sir.
I'll try to hear as best I can.
I have a question. That's actually a really good idea. How do you regulate the heat?
You don't.
Well, actually, I have a similar setup in my car. And you know the hot-cold control in your car, it's actually adjusting airflow either through the heater element or through outside air. So that should still work in your truck.
That still works.
So you can, if you don't want that hot air as hot as you just slide that over towards cool, and you'll be getting more outside air.
You can mix the hot air with the outside air to do that.
Yeah,
The temperature of the fluid is just
It's
determined
fixed.
by internal.
But that's just a regular car.
Yeah, it's just like a regular car.
Yeah.
In fact, the effect is when you're using it, you flip on the switch, which is the unusual part, but everything else there, it just seems like a normal heater.
Yep.
And yeah.
Do many cars these days, or even in the last 15 years, do they have a water control valve? You might have to hit it. But I don't know if that's been in use in the last 15 years or so. But it was actually, the heater control knob controlled a water valve on the heater.
In a regular internal combustion car?
I don't know if anybody uses that.
You use that for summertime when you don't want the hot water to come into the heater core of the car.
I just don't know if cars use that anymore. I know a lot of them are using that kind of air mixing.
Use it on the trucks, but you didn't want, in the hot summer days, you don't want that hot water from the engine to come into inside the cab of the heater core. So you switch it off so the hot water doesn't come into your cab.
I would expect that either way, with this kind of water heat system, either of those two types of controls would still work well.
Well, you wouldn't want to shut the hot water off on a system like his.
In an electric vehicle, you don't have wasted energy of hot water to deal with. So
You just turn the switch off.
Yeah.
That's true.
Well, thank you, Larry. Though most manufacturers do use water heat water-warmed heater cores in the electric vehicles, I sure am appreciating the ceramic element in my factory Ford Ranger EV. That sucker warms up immediately. There's no waiting to make hot water in that truck. And of course, it's lighter weight and a hell of a lot cheaper. But I'm struck by one thing in your presentation. Perhaps I'm on a power trip from having just banned someone from the SEVA list for the first time ever. And I'd like to request that presentations no longer include the phrase, just like a regular car.
Yeah, here, here.
And definitely not like a regular car is what our next presenter pulled up in. Because